Okay, when you think of indoor-outdoor cooking, right, we have an emergency. And I can go indoors or I can go outdoors. Which fuel am I going to use first? I like the butane, right? It's so easy to just stay in the house and use my butane up. But I'm in an emergency situation. If I can go outside, I'm going outside. Because what happens if I get quarantined and I've used up all my butane? Then what do? Right? So I'm going to take care of my butane. I am such a believer in a variety of cooking methods and fuel sources. I want to have multiple sources. People just always tell me, yeah, you're going to be cooking for people. Because I catered for 25 years. My mom had a little wedding business. First of all, let's talk about free fuel, right? How can we cook things? This is all about cooking. So how are we going to cook with free fuel? We have a sun oven. I love the concept of a sun oven because when the sun is out, I can cook for free. My fuel is free. Am I an expert at using a sun oven? Not even close. The concept is you put your food, the pot with your food in it, into here. It reflects down into here from the sun. There's a thermometer in here. And you just keep track of the temperature. And once it hits the temperature, then you put your food in and then time it. Who was it? No, it was somebody else. They just moved from California some time ago. And they said when they were there, they had trees. And they would try and use their sun oven, and they would have to keep moving it every couple hours to make sure it stayed in the sun. And now that they're here and they don't have all those trees, it works great. It can stay out there all day. They have to rotate it a little bit, but not too terribly much. You do have to baby these the wind comes along, and it will totally pick that up and send it flying. But will it work in the winter if the sun's out? Yeah. Will it take a little longer to heat up? Probably. Basic concept with Dutch oven. You want to use briquettes. Count how many, you figured out the temperature by how many briquettes you have. So you'll want briquettes on the bottom and you'll want briquettes on the top. And just Google it. It's the fastest way to get the exact amount that you need for what size, for what you're doing. You want to make sure they stay out of getting wet. You don't want them to get wet because that'll wreck them. You don't want to buy any with any fire starter on them because those disintegrate quicker. And just take really good care of them. They actually last quite a while. Also, once you use them, instead of letting them burn all the way out, if you rinse them and soak them, put them in a big thing of water, and then lay them out to dry for a couple of weeks, you can just reuse them till they're gone. And then you're not have so much waste. But this right here is called a charcoal holder, which is great because then you don't have charcoal flying all over the place. This is a camp-made item. These little things I'm going to show you are camp-made. And it sits, so your Dutch oven just sits right on top of there. And then it's got it on the bottom. Then you're going to put some more briquettes on top. This little gadget will store in any size bigger than a 12-inch. Okay? So this right here is called a lid holder. So once I put my charcoal on here, and then when I need to check it, I can just leave this sitting on here. I can just take it off and check it, and my charcoal's still there. And then when I need to put it back on, it's really easy to put on. Notice when I set this down, it's up off the table. And so it doesn't get all burn the table. It doesn't get all the yucky stuff on my lid for when I put it back over here. So this is like dinner. So when I'm ready to serve it, this will serve it. This little lid holder will do up to a 16-inch Dutch oven. We need to have breakfast first. So we're going to turn this puppy over and put this on here. And now I have a griddle for my breakfast. Isn't that fun? I love this. This right here, the guy said, is like the most expensive trivet. Not that it's super expensive, but just that it's a trivet. It's not only a trivet, it's also a steamer insert for any Dutch oven over 12 inches. But it's also lunch. So, if I have breakfast and dinner, I have to have lunch also. Just pull these in just a tad. And now I have a grill. So I have a grill, a griddle, and a Dutch oven, all with those little accessories that are pretty cool. Talked to somebody about how many briquettes to store if I wanted to use briquettes for a whole year, and that was one of my main things. And it came out somewhere on some website lately that you want like 1,000 pounds. So I'm way behind on my briquettes. I'd start like last night's class, we talked about 2 to 3 weeks. Start having enough for 2 to 3 weeks, and then extend out to your 3-month supply. And then, I don't know, just it's up to your personal, like I said at the beginning, it's up to your pondering and meditation type of a an answer to see how much to get. I love a pressure cooker. Why do I love a pressure cooker? Cooks fast, right? It's like my grandma's microwave. My grandma, did she have a microwave? It's like our microwave, I guess, right? Cooks quick, and it runs hot though, so it's going to kill more nutrition than maybe a thermal cooker, but it's okay because it's going to go fast, and it's going to be efficient. It's great for beans, tough cuts of meat. Actually, it's really good for a lot of things the same as this. This is my mother's. I always talk about stealing everything from her. It's a Recon, Kuhnrikon. And it's like from Germany or something. She researches and she buys really well. Okay, this is a pressure cooker, not a pressure canner. So it does have a gasket. I don't think you're going to get around a bet gasket not having one in a pressure cooker. With a pressure canner, that's a great comment though. I had a canning class just last week that I did, and we talked about the gaskets, and my canner is a non-gasket canner. So it's wedged at an angle at the top, and then it has those things you screw around on the top, and I've never had to have anything really done to it. It's been working great. I really do love my canner. I did pick one up at a garage sale that has a gasket, and I haven't used it yet because I need to take it into the extension service and have it tested. You can take it in for free. They'll test your pressure canners. You want to make sure if you have a gasket, real true canners, they're going in every year and having it tested to make sure that there's nothing wrong with your gasket and that your little round gauge is reading right. I don't hear a lot about problems with the pressure canner, but one girl in my class, her sister had one explode on her. So I don't ever worry about it. I just follow instructions, and I'm not going to mess with one if there's a gasket in it. I'm just going to go get it checked. I can put this on almost anything. Propane is good. Where do we want to use propane for the most part? Outside, right? There might be a few converted stoves that would work, but they have to have some kind of a thing on them. For my choice indoors, what's this one? Do you know? You want to use butane indoors. This is the one. It lets off, for the most part, carbon dioxide and water vapor. These little canisters, depending on at what rate your thing releases the gas, will last 1.5 to 2.5 hours per canister. So I have somebody online that wants to get a year's supply. She's emailing me, I want a year's supply of butane. How much do I buy? I'm like, okay, so let me do a little bit of math. If I'm going to do a 4-pack a week, then you could probably figure it out pretty quick. There's some safety things about butane you want to be aware of. Because I looked up and people are like, oh no, not butane. You have to be careful with whatever you're going to use. You're talking about fire and heat. And only thing I could figure out from the studying I did is that people were first of all, I take this out no matter what, because I don't want my gas to release and I lose my gas. So I'm always going to take out my butane when I'm done. But less likely to leak here than it is if I've got it plugged in. It's really simple. It slides right in here. There's a little nut, and then you push this down and it turns right on. What I found is people say that it'd explode. I don't see how it can explode if you're using it right. If you've got this over here and you've got a pan right here, the only way is if it's got too hot. So I finally found somebody somewhere that said what looked like was happening was they would have a huge pot on here and it would overheat down into here. That's not the right way to use the device. It doesn't go bad, yeah, pretty much. You might have one can here and there that might leak, and it just dissipates. But I haven't had that yet. As far as my reading, that's what I found. One thing about butane, if you're out in the cold and it gets real cold, so you might think about this. This is maybe one reason why I put some in the basement, is if I had an emergency, this stuff in the garage and it's winter, it's probably not going to work very well yet. Okay? We'll heat it back up. We got to warm it back up. It's not going to work if it's frozen. But it's not gone, it's just not going to work yet. Storage-wise, it's really safe for storage for the most part. If you have a fire in your house, you got a problem with anything you're going to store.